Why your Rook is a trash. You might have seen people complaining about Rook and Corrosion, thinking that having Inspiration 0 Rook is gonna change their gameplay. They're wrong. The problem with Rook is his scaling. He scales out of damage of the other Corrosion heroes, and to really work well, he needs 100% crit rate and huge crit damage. The Rook you saw in my video had Tempering on, had elemental equipment improvement as well, and since it's the test server, I had more stamina than most of you and managed to get decent equipment. Not ideal, but decent, still aiming for this 100% crit rate. In previous version of the game, Rook had no cap. In this version of the game, his ultimate is capped. We do maximum number of hits that only increase the damage of each hit. What I mean is, when we cast his ultimate, we will see the maximum number of hits he can hit per ultimate. The damage value of this hits is increased. Just have a look at that. He starts with 8. This number goes up. And it can go up to 22 stacks. That's the highest I believe I saw. While the free-to-play, well, Inspiration 0 caps at 16. That's the difference of 6 extra hits. So we're already losing the number of the hits, which means we're doing less true damage. On top of that, Inspiration 2 Rook increases the true damage dealt by 25% when he reaches 5 stacks. True damage currently can't be improved by Carnage Gloves or any other mythic that increases damage. So these two inspirations are crucial for the maximum damage of a Rook. I ran this fight for a reference and I've done 4 billion damage. What I'm going to do now is remove crit rate from Rook to show you where you are currently, because you just unlocked Vortex 3 a couple days ago. Your equipment is nowhere close to perfect. You don't have Tempering as well, so it's really hard for you to get these stats. So I'm gonna keep the Inspiration 5 team. I'll go to Inspiration 0 eventually, but I removed a lot of stats from the Rook to show you how important the stats are. And you can see here 1 billion, well, 800 million damage less by just removing these extra stats from Rook. Let's do something similar with Whisk, as he is the main Corrosion enabler. So now he's missing the 100% crit rate. And the damage dropped by 600 million. What I'm trying to tell you is, this Rook team is very equipment dependent. You should not be playing a Rook until you get to the Tempering era, where you can improve your stats, get crit rate and crit damage, because even at high inspirations, the Rook team, the Corrosion team, loses a lot of damage if their equipment is not well optimized. So this is why your Rook team, your Corrosion team, is doing really bad. And the main reason for that is other teams don't require that much investment. If we look at the Ice Blast team, Inspiration 5 Ice Blast team doesn't require in the early game, or even not Inspiration 5, any Ice Blast team doesn't require much crit rate, and crit rate is what's making a lot of damage for crit-based heroes, which is Dauntless, Ice Blast, and Corrosion. Flora is slightly different because she scales with Enlightenment. What Ice Blast has compared to others is the huge crit rate given to them for the first 5 minutes of the battle. This is huge. 20%, apologies, 30% crit rate through attacks and skills just from that. And remember, also, Sheena grants them 20% crit rate up. That's 50% crit rate for free since day one. That's why Ice Blast is dominating. That's why Ice Blast is so easy to build. Also, Ice Blast can be played with 1 exclusive hero, Beldel, or 2 exclusive heroes when we add Reta. The Rook Corrosion team is played with 2 exclusive heroes Rook and Reita, you can still use Ogok, but the damage will fall as Reita does extend the duration of all the debuffs, which means instead of having attack penalty for 10 seconds, this will extend it to 15 seconds. And the most important thing is this also extends the pet's vulnerability skill, so we have a 15-second damage increase window on a 15-second damage window already through the raffle phase where we enter the boss takes 100% direct damage. However, everything that I just mentioned does not boost Rook's damage, because if you read his skills once again, please read them to understand. True damage, and we do damage through true damage. The damage portion of the skill that generates corrosion is really small. It's only 600% attack. The damage is coming from the consumed corrosion, which deals true damage, and true damage ignores target defense. We don't need Carnage on him. For him, we already ignore the defense when he deals damage with true damage. However, we need Carnage for our corrosion damage dealers because they need to apply corrosion. So they need to have damage increase. This is why we still bring Witch's Remain for that, but Rook damage does not benefit from it. You guys asked for it. They nerfed Rook. He's still very good. The longer the fight is, no one can do as much DPS as he can, but it's not going to be as easy as Inspiration 0 Rook with his exclusive artifact out-damaging Beldel Inspiration 5 like it was in a previous version of the game. But going back to the true damage, unaffected by damage boosts. On top of that, any other damage boost, vulnerability, direct damage increase in second phase of the boss, these do not boost Rook's damage. So that's why Rook needs to have perfect stats. He needs to have 100% crit rate. If you have lower than 100% crit rate, your damage is going down. You could see I dropped 20% crit rate and like 40% crit damage, and I lost 800 million damage at Inspiration 5, which is huge. 800, that's like 20, yeah, I would say 20% damage loss from 4 billion. And if you don't have his exclusive artifact, you're losing even more damage, as the true damage this artifact increases is increased by 80%. Yes, there is a viable option. It's slightly different to what we've been using, and this is this mask, but it doesn't increase your true damage. You see, this will reduce your damage significantly. And yes, I've been showing you the Inspiration 5 difference, because if you can see and understand that if I reduce my crit rate, I'm gonna lose 800 million damage, this damage will drop for you as well. So you will not hit Rook's potential until you can min-max his equipment and equipment of his other corrosion damage dealers. This is why even Inspiration 1 or 2 Sacredia will increase your damage, because they will gain extra attack and ignore defense, which means, well, they will get extra attack per inspiration. Also, when dealing damage, they will do more damage. As you can see, more crit rate, more crit damage. Easier to min-max them, meaning more damage means more corrosion means more Rook's damage. And that's how, and that's why it's so important that this team is all about min-maxing, all about heavy investment as well. And this investment only pays off in the late, well, mid-late game. Really, you won't be using this team in the early game because it doesn't scale. You need Psychic Core, you need everything to be as high as possible, and then this team shines. You don't really need support inspirations here. They will help you survive, but it's all about having this multiple inspirations on these heroes. And this is why pulling in the first banner where Rook is available and getting those, and trust me, there's multiple veterans who have Whisk, Sacredia and Rook at Inspiration 5, and they're still not using them because the Beldel team is so much easier to build with lower investment. And if you're unlucky when it comes to equipment, you will not move on to this team until you're certain you can out damage the enemies. Obviously, some players brought in amazing equipment from Season 2 to Season 3, so you might see their Inspiration 5 Rooks popping soon. They will have a different build. They will probably use Mythics because they transferred very powerful Mythics instead of this build, but this build is one of the easiest to build and helps you with managing crit rate and crit damage, as this sets grant you respectively crit damage and crit rate. Remember when I said that the Rooks damage, true damage, is not boosted by any other source of damage boost? This means also the equipment's 3 sets. This is why we keep it with 2 sets. I hope in this video I was able to explain to you why your Rook is trash. And I'll be honest with you, they did nerf Rook significantly, but they put Rook in a place where all the veteran players wanted Rook to be. Because it was hard to get a Rook, and if you didn't have Rook, you could not compete. Inspiration 0 Rook with exclusive artifact was better than most Inspiration 5 exclusive heroes. Now he's not. He needs a proper investment to outdamage those veteran Akans. So if you're a new player, your Inspiration 0 Rook with exclusive artifact will be weaker than the Beldels with higher inspiration. And that's how it should be. That's how the game balance works. And hopefully it will stay this way, but I saw some pictures from Season 4 where Rook is doing 15 billion damage on Temporal Vortex, which means the equipment that is available to us in the next season will help Rook to deal more damage. In this season, he is capped. He can only do so much damage, as you could see. And it's pretty much with every other hero in the game as well, which is quite good. People were complaining, people wanted his ultimate to be capped. It is capped right now. Capped when it comes to number of attacks. The damage, however, is not capped. So the longer the fight goes, and so far the longest fight is the Planner, the Guild Battle, as well as Temporal Vortex. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think about this video, my explanation about how Rook behaves and why people are complaining and calling Rook a scam. I want to know if you managed to build a proper Rook team, having your equipment from Season 2, and how he performs for you. Once again, thank you all for watching, stay safe, bye!